Yeah, it's the Thursday night crew. Something always goes wrong, but that was my face for this week. Trevor's not with us. Unfortunately, we've lost Trevor. It's a sad occasion. He's not dead. We just know where he is. I think he's at work or something like that, or possibly getting a whole new plant for Alan. If you're watching. But he has gone the way of the plant for this week. Trevor will hopefully get him back next week for more shenanigans, and we'll see what is in the background of his wall that he keeps threatening. But we've got me and we've got Brian tonight. Brian, how are you?
Doing great.
And here is our agenda for tonight. We're going to look at, we're going to talk a little bit about Joel Matip's injury and what it means going forward, especially coming up to the January transfer market. We're going to talk about Pep Guardiola's apparently ill-timed exclamation that City will definitely win the Premier League title as long as they don't have to play Aston Villa every week. We'll talk about Spurs, the Spurs that ever Spurs might. And they're doing the classic Spurs thing that we all knew they would do because that's what Spurs do. And then we'll look ahead to the game at the weekend, and we'll end with Macca's moral matter because I might have a good one this week. But it's just for you, Brian, so you have to answer all by yourself. So the first thing to talk about is Joel Matip's injury. Incredibly unfortunate. Lots of comments on social media that it may have been his last game played for the club. And then others saying, maybe he'll get an extension, career contract thingy to keep him, so that he can say goodbye properly and have a proper season. But one way or another, it is a blow to Liverpool's defence, and may force Klopp's hand in getting something in January. Or Brian, apart from the fact that it's a horrible thing to happen to him, does it mean that Kwanzaa gets to step up and get a bit more limelight that I personally think he probably deserves already?
Especially I think Kwanzaa right there has such a bright future. I think that we still have to go there and look back to, is he ready for that? Because I think that he has it in him, but I'm not sure whether he is ready yet to go there to go and make that next move. I'd definitely rather go there and go after somebody right there, at least somebody on loan, or somebody who that we could go there and that would be the investment that we thought we were going to get back in the summertime when everybody was crying for a defender. But I mean, it's if we have to have Kwanzaa, I mean, he's a good number 3 out there. I mean, it's behind Gomez and Konate to partner Verge. But I think we still are going to need a little bit of depth.
In terms of, Matip, it seems such an innocuous thing, as they always do with cruciate. I think it's cruciate ligament, but with ligament injuries in the knee anyway, it's never something dramatic. It's always like somebody turning to take a corner kick or bending down and then stepping forward to take a throw in when it pops. It was that, to be cynical, was that an indication that, physically at least, maybe his time as an intense heavy metal Liverpool player was coming to an end, or was it just literally the case of the worst luck ever?
I was worried about as many minutes that we were giving him anyway. I mean, it was something that I brought up a couple months ago right there about being able to go there and let him to ease him through just because of his age group right there. But being that we have our other defenders right there, we were kind of forced. Our hands were forced right there because I mean, Konate is never healthy, and Gomez, even though he is that other choice, I mean, he just doesn't get the minutes or the partnership with Van Dijk. So I think that we were kind of forced to say, hey, Matip is the guy. I mean, so he played a lot of minutes this year, probably more than we probably should have had him play. I mean, but hopefully he recovers from this. I mean, the one thing is that age is kind of not on his side right there. I mean, for that type of injury. I mean, look how long it's taken for Van Dijk to recover from the one injury he had. I mean, to where he's at now. So I think we still have a lot of we have to be hopeful, but we also need to be prepared as a club right there to move forward.
In terms of it just occurs to me that we have Gomez came back from a bad injury, Virgil came back from a bad injury, and now Matip has a bad injury, and Konate is just a walking injury. It seems. Are we just really, really unlucky with these defending players Is there something in training maybe that's overstressing them? Or is there maybe a demand on our players that is not is not present in other teams' players where they don't get as many central defensive injuries?
I think we're just really unlucky. I mean, except for Kanate, I mean, which I have yet to figure him out right there on why he can only get like maybe one or two matches in him, and before he's a fitness concern again. I mean, Gomez right there obviously wasn't what that happened in a match. I mean, and the little the little T-Rex Pickford was the cause of Van Dijk, so that kind of messed his game up. I mean, up to that point right there, Van Dijk was probably your top center back in the world. I mean, at the moment, until that pushover or whatever the hell that he did with his little teeny tiny hands, like that to go through to happen. But I think we're just unlucky.
Is there? I mean, there was a story of, I believe it was Wimbledon, where Dave Bassett, when he had Wimbledon, went to the 4 corner flags and pissed in all 4 corner flags because the ground that they were in was supposed to be coursed. Are we at the stage where maybe somebody has to piss on all of our defenders' knees start getting injured? Or is there a possibility that we can scout, like not in terms of Van Dijk, obviously, because he was just the victim of the extinction of the dinosaurs, but in terms of like some of the injuries that we do get, especially the soft tissue ones, to maybe just recruit somebody a little bit hardier and sturdier than Kanate or Matip. Well, I know he's old and all that, but it wasn't like he got crunched by Roy Keane to snap his knee in half. Like we definitely have the bad luck, but should we be looking at that thing, injury records, a little bit more specifically when we're scouting for defensive players?
But if you were to go to it, I think the modern footballer is a totally different specimen right there than the ones like even from like 10, 15 years ago. I mean, you never saw these type of injuries right there. I mean, you could go back to the the Saul Campbells and people like that right there, who you never saw him really get hurt. I mean, even at both Arsenal and Spurs right there, you never saw these issues. I mean, how many times did you really see Jamie Carragher get hurt? I mean, I know he had like 1 or 2 spells and all that, but you never saw the extent. I think that the game is, like most sports right there, the amount of pressure that we put on the players and amount of game time that we put on players. I mean, between international friendlies, cup matches, league matches. I mean, that's a lot of matches to get put on them. And, it's like, I think you probably go to every podcast and every supporter right out there who from every club is saying right there that eventually these players are going to crack. I mean, with what you're putting, the weight you're putting on them. So, I mean, maybe the solution right there is to go out there and dial back these meaningless international friendlies and all that they call the championship or whatever the hell they call them anymore right there and all that, and just deal with your European qualifiers or qualifiers alone for the World Cup, and let's kind of dial the amount that you have, the amount of stress you have on these players.
Are there any defenders that you could that comes to mind immediately for you that maybe you would think that might be worth a cheeky bid in January to just to at least bed somebody in if Matip is essentially finished as a Liverpool player, and if we're looking at Kanate as being somebody who's going to take up more space in the physio room than he is on the pitch?
I mean, you go to Portugal. I mean, everybody's talking about the Ignacio kid right there. I mean, that's one that I think that's how you pronounce his name right there. I mean, that's one that everybody is, but I mean, he's not going to come with the cheap. I mean, they're talking about at least 55 mil right there to bring him in. But I think we need to look at somebody just a loadie right there. I mean, just to get us through right there till because January could be a pretty tricky market. You could probably go there and get a player that's maybe only worth 15, 20 mil right there. They're going to probably charge you at least double that right there because of demand. So I mean, it just depends on what we're able to get out there, what the market looks like. But I wouldn't go for these like freak out moments right there and start spending over the top for a defender. I mean, if we can just pull somebody in for a loan for 6 months, as depth right there, to not as a starter. I mean, because I think we can go there and make it through if we can keep Konate healthy or Gomez healthy. I mean, we could make it through right there with having somebody go in as the number three spot or number 4 spot instead of actually going into spending all this money on something that we really, it's a gamble that we don't know if we're going to get win out of.
Is it possible we could persuade, just for a cheeky one, Quiveen Kelleher to have a word with Nathan Collins at Brentford and try and send him our way? Because he'll play exactly the same way as he does at Brentford, to be fair.
It'd be nice, but if Brentford wasn't in the position that they're in right now, then I'm sure that it would be a cheeky offer to put in there. But I think that Brentford right there is looking at their own pathway to go there and make sure they get the European qualification.
That's true. So let's first of all, before we move on, wish Matip the best of recovery and the best of health going forward. But let's look at the next thing that we're going to talk, Pep Guardiola. In an article I saw just very briefly on the BBC was saying, City are definitely going to win the league. It's nailed on that they're going to recover from this little bump in the road, and then they're going to charge forward and do what they do and win the league. And then they played Aston Villa and lost. And it was just, it seemed almost like a Brendan Rodgers-esque speaking too soon kind of a thing. Is that the ramblings of a man who's worried that his team is actually not capable of running away with the league this year, but wants to put on a brave face? Or is he really that deluded that his team are the only team that can challenge? Because right now we're up there. We look like we can have a solid challenge. I'm all on board with Cozzy on that one. But Arsenal, as much as we hate Lego Head, they look like they could last the distance at least for the last few months.
I mean, I think with Pep, I mean, I just watched his post press conference match right there with the Villa match. I mean, it was he sung a different tune right there about that they were the better side and that we were clearly beaten. He kind of ducked and dodged a bunch of questions like he normally does right there. And basically says that we have to recover. We have to play these games right there. We normally would win right there and stuff like that. But I think really you have to go back to their transfer business they did in the summertime. I mean, they brought Doku in. I mean, with perfect, great signing and stuff like that. But then you let some of your midfield go. I mean, like Cole Palmer. I mean, I still don't quite comprehend like that. So you basically let your midfield get age by Coulter and getting rid of a player who was going to be a decent value for you. I mean, between Palmer and Foden in that midfield, I mean, that's a pretty good group. I mean, and then with Rodri right there in the midst with them also. I mean, so I think that with De Bruyne getting older and more fragile, you're opening yourself up to these problems. But then it also goes back there with Haaland. I mean, everybody criticizes our boy Darwin right there, but I watched Haaland miss some of these same exact shots right there that Nunez was missing and all that. And he doesn't get the same criticism. Of course, he scored all these goals he did last year, but behind the midfield he had, I mean, he did. So yeah, but I think that with Pep, I fear with Pep right there that their March to May run every year they turn into machines. But I think it might be different this year. I think that there's a little crack in that system.
Is it one of those things where just if anybody's wondering, he's a bald fraud. Is it one of those things where, because we've talked before on both the post matches, the pre matches, and on the pods, this City squad is not the strongest City squad that they've had under Pep. Is it possible he's overestimated his own coaching abilities? Is it that hangover because they've won everything that, it's kind of like we can take our foot off the gas and we'll still be great for this one season, but then that doesn't actually turn out to be the case? Or is it maybe even a combination of every other team, apart from us, because we're always trying to catch up with City, but every other team has now figured out a way to catch up with them as well, which makes it look like City are doing worse when other teams may actually be doing better?
I think it's a combination right there because I think that, I mean, even the same thing goes right there with Arsenal with bringing Declan Rice in. I mean, it's that midfield that just came through, and that just came through and basically up their match right there, their ability to go there to confront City, and also go there and to go through a match through the league. Last year, Arsenal had problems with depth. They added some depth to their midfield now, so they're a much better side. I mean, with us, we have a younger midfield. We refreshed our midfield, so that changes everything there. So we're all catching up with them. And again, City still has. I mean, until City goes there and actually is sitting down there below us, and there's no way for them to come back, I'm not sold that they can't go there, go back and go back in there. I mean, it's very compact right there from like sixth all the way up to like up to first place right now. So I mean, I think that I am not going to go there and write City off yet.
Even if we don't write City off, wouldn't it be fun if they were in coming into April to May, chasing with Newcastle, Arsenal, or Newcastle United, Brighton, and Villa for the top 4 spots, rather than maybe us and Arsenal.
I think it'd be hilarious.
That'd be great.
I think it'd be hilarious. I think it'd be hilarious right there. But I think that there's potential right now for us and Arsenal to start pulling away.
Let's talk about the next thing then, because it involves this team, because I didn't mention them there, but Spurs, the Spurs that ever Spurs mates. Big Ange, and I like Big Ange, but he came in with a lot of fanfare, mostly because of his personality, because he's a hilarious and very good publicity coach. He's good. He's worth the sound bites. But also they had like that refreshing attacking style of football, which every Spurs manager that looks like they can do something usually has when they come in, and then it falls apart. But it's fallen apart, and it's fallen apart spectacularly for what the expectations were. Is this just a curse that Spurs are under? Was Big Ange's tactics always going to be limited? Or is the injury crisis they have really the explanation underneath it all?
I think it's a combo. Again, right there, I think that their injury crisis definitely is not helping their situation out. You know, and I thought that they would be like early this season. I thought they were a much better side without having Harry Kane there. But now it seems like that if they had Harry Kane, I think they could probably pull some of these results. They would have turned around this streak right now. So I think that, you know, without having that focal point anymore, I mean, that they've lost that dynamic, the dynamic that they had. And I think that the tactics right there, we had talked prior to this right there. I mean, again, you're getting found out. I mean, so what do? You go out there and you don't keep on playing the same exact method of run. You go out there and actually go out there, dig down, and go out there and give your players that time right there to get the momentum right there to go back forward. I mean, they're fading pretty fast. I mean, I don't. It could be the Levy curse. I mean, you can say that. I mean, it could be that anything that he's touched right there, for the most part, has turned to shit.
We talk about Kane there being a focal point. Son seems to have taken on that mantle himself, but he was very, very well helped by James Maddison, and James Maddison gets injured, and then I think that could probably be almost a watershed moment for them when results started to change. But if that is the case, have they literally gone from being a one-man team with Kane to being a one-man team with Maddison? Thus, they are destined to perpetually be stuck in that cycle of not having any other players than the one player that's their focal point.
Probably right there. I mean, I watched Richarlison when he came in on that match today right there against West Ham, and he was terrible. I mean, it's the Everton legend that he really is right there. He looked like an Everton legend. I mean, but yeah, he was. I mean, he was disjointed. I mean, it was just, their side is just a mess at the moment. And I mean, and they're probably gonna get caught by United here probably this weekend.
I mean, that would be a big turnaround, wouldn't it? From the start of the season, because United looked awful. They still look awful. They just seem to be getting away with it as they always do. But they looked really awful at the start, and Spurs looked really together. But if it ends up being at the end of the season that United finish higher than Spurs, if you were at Ange Postecoglou, would you be worried for your job, or would you would you think that is the board that Spurs will be going, transition season, we'll give him another one?
Well, I think he's definitely a transition season. I mean, I don't think you can really let him go with it because I still think you're going to finish in the top half right there. And plus, you've lost a talisman to your side. I mean, so I think that you definitely were. I definitely think you still have another season left in you. I think the problem right there is if they do finish above, like in that top five. I mean, will you be? Where will the rot be next year? I mean, because eventually you may have that same rot.
Much was made of the fact that they had no Europe, but that doesn't seem to be working out too well for them. And all the teams that are in Europe are doing quite well. There is a huge amount to be said for the drain on fitness and the drain on energy levels for teams to have to play, Wednesday, Saturday, or Thursday, Sunday, or whatever, or at 5 a.m. in the morning if you're Liverpool playing after a European game or an international break, and 5 a.m. English time, not even our time over here. But would that, do you think, have lent to a sense of complacency from Spurs that while everybody else is out playing at high intensity, we can plan our week and make it a little bit easier, so we can get proper training in, which might lead to intensity levels dropping from week to week. Whereas with Arsenal, with City, you have to be on every 2 or 3 days. You have to be back on again. So your intensity never gets a chance to drop. Has that not being in Europe really hurt Spurs more than they thought it would have been done?
It's a double-edged sword right there. I mean, but I guess it's really kind of hurt them a lot more because you think about this, that they've lost fitness and they've lost momentum right there at the same time. Sometimes you get this thing when you're playing so many matches right there that you get susceptible to injuries. But now I think at the point with them, they're getting injuries and they're not gaining the momentum right there. Because like say for instance like that with City are us. You're coming there playing these matches. You have a European competition, then you turn around, you play either Saturday, Sunday, and you go back in, you play it, and then you wait and you play. Then you have a cup match, and then you go through there. It's a constant cycle, so you're actually keeping your fitness going. I mean, but without having the fitness going, pardon me, and then you get injuries at the same time, you're destined to start dropping.
Let's kind of go on a little tangent here. You're Harry Kane. You've spent years and years at Spurs. You spent a few years getting really close to winning something and never quite doing it. You've been scoring. He is a fantastic goal scorer, as I said before. I would like him at Liverpool. He would finish a lot of moves for us, but not do much else. But you're at Bayern Munich now. You're ripping it up in Germany, literally ripping it up, and you're probably guaranteed a trophy at the end of the season. Ultimately, probably the Bundesliga, because they just win it in the end, whether it's by design or default. They just win it in the end. If you're Harry Kane, are you sitting there going, you know what, I made the right move?
Absolutely. I mean, I think he definitely made the right move. I think that, that's, I mean, ultimately right there as a player right there, what do you want to win? You want silverware. I mean, were you ever going to get that silverware at Spurs? Probably not. I mean, he's probably kicking himself butt because he wanted to move to City a couple years ago, and that move got blocked. I mean, by Levy and stuff like that. So, he doesn't have any mercy with that anymore. I mean, he saw the way to go. Guess what? I'm digging my heels. I'm moving this time because he saw what was going to happen. I mean, it was a transition year, so it was time for you to go in there to make the move. Good for him. I mean, it's but I think he's enjoying his time at Bayern. I think that he has a potential right there, not just winning the Bundesliga. It's got potential winning Champions League.
That would be an awful thing to say. To be fair, Harry Kane drooling over the Champions League trophy because we might get it next year, and somebody's gonna have to clean that thing.
Boy, the ugly reflection in old big ears. Oh.
Although it might be like that. Have you ever saw that movie Mask with Rocky Dennis where he goes into the Hall of Mirrors and it manipulates his face to make it look normal? Maybe that's what it'll be. It'll be Harry Kane looking normal through all the distortions. But let's leave Spurs and Harry Kane where they are before we Spurs up this show. and let's talk about something that's really, really important, and that is the game against Crystal Palace at the weekend. It is, let me check my notes, another early morning game. And it is against Crystal Palace away, so it's not even at home. We're going to have to travel to that one. It's Roy Hodgson. They're not having the best of times. They're not having. I think we discussed they had some injury problems as well, but it's still Roy Hodgson, and he still has a habit of putting a stick in the spokes of our wheel whenever he can. Is this? We say it all the time. Is it a game that we should worry about? Is this one going to be another pull what's left of your hair out games where we're coursing Darwin Núñez missing 16 chances and it eventually goes in off Salah's frosted tips or something, or Endo saving us again? God, I love that man. And or is it, are we looking at a sneaky 1-0 from Roy and then he's going to lord it up like he's won the World Cup all by himself?
This game definitely has the potential right there to be a banana skin, because I hate playing Crystal Palace. I mean, to me, right there, Crystal Palace has cost us the league at one point, in my opinion, right there. Back in 2014, right there. That to me, that was the beginning of our downfall, right there, to lose the title. But I do think that we have to. We have to be cautious right there. But I mean, I think that with their front line having the injuries they do is definitely an advantage to us. I think that we can squeak it through, but definitely that's not going to be an easy match.
Do you think, just in terms of serendipity, is this the one game that you probably would want to have to rely on a possibly injured Kanate or about to be injured Kanate? Young Kwanzaa or sometimes sketchy Joe Gomez against that attack, rather than having to face like City with just Van Dijk being fit and healthy. Is this actually a game that has come up at the right time for us?
I think definitely has come at the right time with us, but I do think that we need to go there and shift Gomez back into the middle, and then have Simicast go there and go back over on the left side. I think that's one of the movements that we definitely need to make on there. But I think that I still think Kwanzaa is a bench player for us. I don't think that he's ready to actually be a full starter in the Premiership.
For Crystal Palace, Roy Hodgson is 87 million years old at this point. I mean, fair play to him for keeping at it. You can't not respect the fact that he can't stay away from the game, and he still has the energy and vibrancy, if that's a word, of a younger coach. But he's very predictable. We know what he's going to do. He's going to set out a stall in a 4-5-1 or a 4-4-2 type of thing, maybe a back five. He's going to try and hold the game, and he's not going to let his players take too many risks. Isn't that the blueprint that we tend to have problems with?
It's kind of what happened with us with Luton. I mean, for the most part, kind of happened with us with Sheffield the other day. I mean, it's like that is a blueprint that we have problems with. We like to have people come at us and play. I mean, because we like to be able to go on the counter attack on every match. So if we're going there and having somebody that's blocking us off and not giving us the ability to counter, we struggle.
Where would the goals come from? Let's say Núñez starts to get like another chance on it before Klopp loses his reason and shifts him back to the bench. Is Núñez going to be a chronic mortal sinner in front of the goal again, or will this be a game where he actually finds his shooting boots? And if not, is that going to be final confirmation that Gakpo should always be starting where Núñez is starting?
I mean, I could probably go back to what we from this past weekend. I mean, the last goals that came through all had something to all deal with Núñez. I mean, Núñez knocked the ball back up there for Trent to go through and score. I mean, so you have to look at that right there. I mean, as a total footballer, yes, Núñez is a center forward. He should be scoring, but also have to look back at what is his contribution. I mean, also right there, he's most preferred partner. I mean, that Mo actually wants to play with Nunez. They have a good communication base. I think that Gapco right there, sitting back right there, this is a conversation that happened on Monday right there with it. I mean, I think that Gapco right there is probably a better as a number 10 than he is as a number 9. I think that, I think that we have, I don't think that him in the middle of the pitch right there works for us. I think that he has to play, Gapco has to play off somebody. And I think that with having that front line the way it is with Diaz and then somebody, either Gapco or Nunez in the center, that Mo on the other side, I think that, it favors Nunez. Even though Nunez isn't scoring right there, it still favors Nunez because of the playmaking that he does.
Alan says that he's a bull in the China shop. Why the hell does he shoot at 100 miles an hour at the woodwork and the keeper? But that's a good point Alan is making in a broad sense, because if we assume Crystal Palace will be defensive and will keep it tight, we may not get an awful lot of actual clear chances and shots on target. Isn't it important that those chances, when we do get them, fall to somebody we can trust to put the ball in the back of the net?
I mean, we do right there, but also the same thing goes with there is that we're creating more chances right there with having Nunez in the middle. I mean, that's one thing that you watched. I mean, that's with it is that he actually created chances. I mean, so especially and when you're coming there cracking hard defenses right there. I mean, from putting the ball back out, sort of back for Trent to score. I mean, that wasn't an easy thing to do. I mean, so I mean, yeah, I definitely had my old Flacco on Nunez, and I think that definitely the problems with him not scoring, but also see what he actually does off the ball too, right there. It's kind of like the same thing we went about Bobby many years ago about saying Bobby's not scoring, Bobby's not scoring. What's the problem? What's the problem? It's also what is Bobby also doing right there, and what is the contributions to goal?
But is it not the case that the difference really for Nunez is that he should have at least 10 more goals this season? Because it's not that he's not scoring, it's that he's literally in the best position that he could ever be in, and he's still missing.
I mean, that poor woodwork and Emmy Grail right there is still rattling right there from him hitting it. I mean, it's like, it seems like at least once a week right there, he destroys the woodwork. I mean, so, I mean,
I do that as well. I do that as well every weekend, Brian. I'm not going to say how.
But yeah, I mean, but it's like, with him, I mean, I like Gapco. I think Gapco is a more natural forward as far as actually transition. I think that, and even Bickler was talking about this on Monday. I think that, as far as like ability and actually his goal scoring, I think that he is the better of the options. But it also goes back to who are goals coming from in this side? They're coming from Mo. So I mean, so again, right there, it goes back to what does Mo want right there to actually go there to get him to play better? Nunez. I mean, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, look at the amount of assists and goals that we have that all combined right there. We have with Mo this year. It's all based off right there playing with Nunez.
So on that note, to kind of change to that, will this be the game that Mo gets his 200th goal, or is he maybe saving it for an Anfield game to get like the best response to it?
I hope it. I would love for him to go there and get a 200th, but I'd also love to see him go there and score it in front of the cop. I mean, it's just one of those things right there. I mean, for him to go and get that there. I mean, I think that this game has a good Diaz mark to it to me right there. I think that his pace right there against them right there is going to be something to watch.
Let's go back into the midfield now. We talked, I believe, in the post-match the last time, not yesterday's game, the last weekend game, that McAllister was struggling sometimes as an actual number 6. Endo has come in and he saved us in one game by getting that goal, and he looked quite good, and at least in the highlights I saw, as just an out-and-out number 6 and nothing more. Is it time for Endo to become the fulcrum of that midfield in some games, or is it still going to be McAllister in that position in front of the defence?
I think Endo's going to start against Palace. I think that I think that we have a number 6, and we're seeing that with how we play with having a 6 in there. I mean, and really against Sheffield, he played actually a pretty decent match. I mean, he broke up a lot of play. I mean, there was some other situations that happened right there, that in that match right there that that nearly cost us right there. But I think the Endo was not very bad. I think that I would start Endo. And I'd have McAllister, and then I'd have Slabo on the other side.
So what I was going to ask was for McAllister, some of the comments on Discord, unless I was reading them out of order, suggested that McAllister possibly blew his lines a little bit as a forward playing midfielder in the last game, the Sheffield United game. I don't know how true that is, but is Curtis Jones being a bit hard done by right now if he doesn't get the start? Is Harvey Elliott being a little bit hard done by if he doesn't get the start? And despite his goal there at the weekend, we have been talking about maybe Jabo was going off the boil a little bit. Is there not so much an embarrassment of riches problem for Klopp, but does Klopp really have an equation to solve to get the best blend of midfielders right now?
I think he has a problem right there because the midfield right there is stacked, and I think that we're almost at the point right now that we have to our tactics right there and our positions of how we line up right there has to change. I mean, I know Klopp is stubborn right there with having this 4-3-3, but I think that we are at the point now with having this many midfielders that we need to go to start possibly looking either like one thing that mentioned when there was a diamond midfield. I mean, when Mo goes away to AFCON, something like that right there. So we actually benefit from having some of these that number 6, and also go there and having the ability of putting like Gatko and put our Slabo right there in that number 8 spot right there. Then you can play Gravenberch and then McAllister on those two sides right there. So I mean, you could pretty much go there and change this entire and get the advantage out of this midfield and what the talent you have.
Let's go back at just one more player to talk about. Queevy and Kelleher got some brickbats in the 4-3 game, but he kept a clean sheet, although it was just Sheffield United. But will that clean sheet do his confidence a world of good, or is there still going to be some nerves in there for him, do you think?
I thought his save he had against McAtee was a great save. I mean, I think that he, it was a good reaction to save. I mean, I think that without having to go there and get a run in games, I mean, with keepers right there, keepers are, like we all know, are a different lot. Without going there and getting those run of matches, they get cold quick. I mean, so you have to go there and let them get that feel. I think that give Kelleher this time right there, and again, let him go there and build himself back into what he was and what we thought he was right there. And then I hate to say this right there, and I'll echo Gally, sell him. Because we can't afford to have a 25-year-old keeper right there who has some kind of value to him in this side.
Let's talk about just the left back position before we go to anywhere else. Gomez had that nightmare moment with the bad clearance or long ball, whatever it was he was trying to do with that thing. Does Costas come back in, or does Gomez get trusted again?
Costas comes back in. I think we have to have that with that defense and the crossing ability that Costas has. He has to come back in.
So let's go for score predictions from the two of us. What do you think it's going to be on Saturday?
I think I'm going to go with 2-1. I think that we're going to go there and gift up a goofy goal, but I think that we have enough right there to actually go there and pull out the 3 points.
I agree. I think we have it. Always have it in us to give away a Xanax inducing goal, probably early on in the game. But I'm going to go with 4-1. But I'm gonna, despite the criticism, I'm gonna say that maybe this is the game that Núñez hits all of his shots on target, exactly where they're supposed to go. Don't know how many shots he's gonna get, but I think this might be the one where he goes, see, I can do it, before falling over the ball next week. 3 times, like that horse. So let's go. Just Alan says where's the threat versus Gomez? I think Gomez is the threat versus Gomez if he has the ball at his feet by the looks of things. So that's the answer to that one for now. But let's go to the moral dilemma. Here's what I've been thinking about, Brian. Which would you rather be? Would you rather be Sean Dyche's sore throat or Roy Hodgson's face?
Woo! I think I'd have to be Sean Dyche's sore throat. Yeah, definitely Sean Dyche. Just think of all the fun things that you could do, the prank calls that you could make. I mean, you could go there and actually impersonate some like the person who smoked about a carton of cigarettes every once in a while. I mean, Roy, the only thing you're good at is Halloween. I mean, or you could go play.
Well, or you could be ex-British Prime Minister Theresa May, because if you saw a picture of them two together, they look exactly the same.
But you could be a good owl. I mean, you could come there and dress yourself up as an owl right there with their perfect face there too.
The only thing about being Sean Dyche's sore throat is you could also be a Midlands Batman, a British Midlands Batman. But I couldn't be Sean Dyche's voice, because that means you have to be at Goodison at least once every 2 weeks.
Ooh, good point.
Yeah, that I just couldn't put myself through that. At least Roy Hodgson, for all his badness, has been in the hallowed halls of Anfield. But yeah, I couldn't face being in Goodison and in their training grounds and listening to Jordan Pickford talking 5 days, 6 days a week. So I think I personally go for Roy's face, because, as you say, you could always be a great owl in your retirement. There's no problem in that. So it just remains to say for us to make sure that you are liking and subscribing and following us on all of the social medias, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, Discord, not Twitter, X, whatever it's called these days, MySpace, Bebo, GeoCities, whatever your technology is.
Alta Vista?
I'm still on the Abacus. But all of those things, make sure you're following us, make sure you're smashing and liking that subscribe button, because as Bickler says,
like and subscribe, smash that like button. Like and subscribe, smash that like button.
Yeah, or gently press it if you're an elder statesman like me and Brian are. Yeah, but make sure you're following us. We've got great content all of the time. We've got the Friday. Just one quick question: is Uncle Eddie house manager ever in football? I'm pretty sure that's probably Trapattoni's probably managing somewhere now, or Neil Warnock. Well, we have some great content. We have the Morning Coffee tomorrow, sponsored by Reckless Coffee. Make sure you get on to them and buy your coffee from them. We'll have probably a pre and post match on the Saturday game if any of us is awake enough for it. And then the usual pods, and we should have Trevor back next week, and we'll find out. We will interrogate him about where he was this week and why he doesn't have a plant, just for Alan's benefit, because Alan worries about these things. But the fantasy show is coming up next. If you're into that, make sure you stick around to watch it. Make sure that you watch the Liverpool game on Saturday. We need all the eyes on us. What we need is for somebody to do what I did the other day and go to the bathroom and miss the goal. The equaliser goal for Liverpool. That's what you need to do. I left the room and Liverpool scored. You're all welcome. That's how it works. But we need everybody to do that at the same time. So, Brian, thank you for joining us as always. We didn't fall apart too much technically. We will see everybody next week, and you all love it. You all love it. You look forward to this part more than anybody else. It's time to say peace out, and here's the 7.